Welcome. We meet again. Here we are at the online giving breakdown, or in plain English, we're going to be reviewing donation pages live. My name is Stephen Boudreau, and I'm VP of Brand and Community here at Virtuous. So you may be asking yourself, brand and community, what does that have to do with online fundraising? What gives you, Stephen, the right to tell me anything about my donation page? Well, that's a very good question. And also, I answer that question with as much humility as I can. And in another life, the way I got to Virtuous was I co-founded an online fundraising platform called Raise Donors. And so I've been working in the online fundraising space my entire career. So that's over 20 years. And over that time, I've seen all kinds of giving experiences, and I've learned a lot of things from clients, from teaching clients. But one of the things that I've learned the most is that when your donation page gets in the way of your impact, that's deflating. But when it can help, that can be transformative. And so what we're going to talk about today is just different approaches to look at how you might improve your donation page. We're going to start with just the idea of best practices, but always go from the idea that what we're doing is an iterative process. So I'm going to run through just a few slides. I promise this is not going to be a boring slideshow, but I want to refer back to a few things as we go through here. But before I do that, in the chat, if you would like to have your donation page reviewed, I know it's an act of courage. You can put that in there. Will in here will be monitoring the chat, and he'll let me know when we have pages to look at. I'll pull them up in real time. So I'm asking for you to give me grace too. But here I'm going to share a few things just to give us context around what the heck it is we are doing here today. All right, so make sure. Here we go. All right, so first let's start with the basics. This data is about a year old, but online giving makes up about 12% of all giving. Now, for your organization, that may be 50%, 80%, it may be 1%. But the idea is that it's growing because that 12% represents a 42% increase year over year. Now, the next slide that I'm about to show you is really the one that I want you, well, the next two to take to heart. 98.6% of people who visit your nonprofit website do not give a donation. So, all right, a lot of people come, they just want to learn about your organization. Maybe they have a million other reasons besides donating. They would come to your site. But here's the one that's going to make you quake a little. 83% of people who visit your donation page, so they click the donate button, they're on your site, they click donate, they're showing this almost ultimate step of intent. They do not make the gift. So, what does that tell us about the people who arrive at donation pages? Well, it tells us that they're not yet committed. They're not convinced. They're not persuaded. They're not yet at the point where they want to make a gift. They're just curious. They're thinking about it. They're considering what their options are. And the reason that I bring this up is because today, when we look at donation pages, we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about technology. We're not going to be talking about, well, maybe you should upgrade your platform, or maybe you should make a big investment in technology. That may, in fact, be what you end up doing, maybe be what you need to do. But when we talk about looking at our donation pages, I'm going to be specifically focusing on the words that we use, the pictures that we use, the things that we do to try to create a connection with your donor, because that is where we can optimize the process. And so we talk about this word optimize, but what does it mean? What is optimization? So a lot of people think like, hey, when I want to optimize a page or an email or anything, I'm just going to throw it in the old optimization machine, and out the other end, it's optimized. But that's just not how it works. So for example, here are two donation pages. Which one of these two pages is optimized? Anyone venture a guess? We'll call the one the Asia Pacific Fund A, Children's B. Well, what about this? Here we have two Honda Civics. Which one is optimized, the blue one or the white one? What about these two golden retrievers? Is the one on the left or the one on the right optimized? Well, there is no way to answer that question because optimization is a process. It's not something that you just throw a badge on and go, this is an optimized donation page. It's a process, and that means it never ends. Sixto was just talking about processes and systems. That is no different when you look at your donation page, when you look at your emails that you're sending, when you look at the way your folks answer the phone. Everything is a process if you want to make it one. And optimization is a mindset, it's a culture, it's a way to approach your work. And so when you think of it that way, it's kind of this infinite game. It never ends. And so you're not like, well, the site's optimized, let's move on to the next project. Now, you may actually do have to make those kind of choices in your life, but the optimization process isn't done. And I never do one of these little sessions without bringing up this quote, because I think this quote is so important, not only for fundraising, but just for life. And so this is by a man named Tom Northup, and it says, all organizations are perfectly designed to get the results they are now getting. If we want different results, we must change the way we do things. So right now, if your organization is thriving online, you're growing quarter over quarter, well, that is the perfect outcome of what you are doing at this moment. If you're floundering, if you're staying flat, whatever it is, whether you're training for a marathon and you're getting better at running, or you're trying to learn how to play the piano and suddenly you're growing, all of these things are the perfect outcome of what you're putting in. So what you put in is what you're getting out. So the point of this is that if we want to see change, then we've got to try to do things different. Sometimes you're going to learn that you did something like, oh, that actually hurt our fundraising. But the point of optimization isn't always growth, it's learning, because learning helps you grow. So I'm going to come back to that mindset. But ultimately, what I want to define optimization as, oops, I went the wrong way, is that we're optimizing thought sequences. So as we look at a donation page, we are thinking about what our donors or potential donors are thinking about. So if you think about the donor journey, maybe you think about, maybe that's a term you're familiar with, but when you land on a donation page, a donor lands there, what are the sequences of thought that they are going through as they make decisions? Because what we want to do is optimize that by making a series of micro yes decisions. All right, so hey, make a difference in the life of a child. Okay, I get it. I get it. Hey, tell a story about, hey, this is Timmy. Timmy's a child we help. Okay, I'm into the story. Give us your first name. No problem. Give us your last name. Okay. What's your social security number? Oh, hold on. So when I asked for first name and last name, I was introducing friction. I'm asking them for something, but it's expected. I'm optimizing the thought sequences. But now suddenly, when you ask something a little weird, a little strange, or maybe too invasive, that's just an example of how we're not optimizing the process for the thought sequences. So when we think about, hey, how did you hear about us? Hey, do you want to potentially ask if your employer could match this gift? Every single one of those decisions has to be seen through the lens of how we're optimizing the thought sequence. And ultimately, what that means is, if you think of it like a scale, we have value on one side and we have cost on the other. When we are asking our donors or prospective donors to give us money, that is a high cost ask. So what are we giving them in exchange? Giving is personal. Giving is emotional. Giving is something that we have to capture in that moment. So when we look at these pages here momentarily, you're going to hear me refer a lot to where are we on the scale? Are we adding value, or are we just adding cost? It's not the end of the world for you to ask for someone to do a corporate match gift. It's not the end of the world for you to ask someone to do an honor or in memory gift. You just have to be weighing, have I given you enough value so that when I make this request to make you think, to make you do more work, to give me a gift, is it worth it in the mind of the donor? That is optimization. So I have more slides. We don't need to see those now. I may refer to a few more later on as we get going into this. So I am going to go ahead and pull up my browser. Sorry, I'm in a new setup here. I have one page already pulled up that someone sent me earlier, but as you guys send them through the chat, Will give them to me, and we'll go from there. So, yeah, window. Sorry about the delay here. Okay. So, this first page was sent to us here by the United Way of Central Illinois. Again, before we get started, all of these things that I'm going to suggest or I'm going to say, it's all just a starting point. You know your donor base better than me. What worked or works for the United Way of Central Illinois may or may not work for you, but this is why we're here, to learn from each other and to try new things. So right away, I can tell you a few things that are of value that could make a potential immediate impact on this page. And that is up here at the top of the screen. You see our impact, you see volunteer, you see donate, and you see menu. So when you think of what the purpose of a donation page is, anyone have a guess? It's to make a donation. So when we offer the donors a way, in this case, at least 4, if not more ways to hit the eject button, this is defeating the purpose of the donation page. We are giving them, like if you were flying in a fighter jet and you have this big red button that says eject, that's what these are. It's not that these are bad. It's that we guided the journey of the donor to this page for this moment to do a thing. And that thing is to make a gift. They have your entire rest of your website to learn about your impact, to learn how they can volunteer, to learn anything else about the organization. But here we want to focus on the task at hand, and that is to motivate them to make a gift. Keep in mind, 83% of the people that land on this page, statistically speaking, do not go through with the gift. All right, so that's one thing. Remove the navigation if you can, and even this little pop-up here, we don't need that there. So the first thing we see is make an impact. Now, one of the slides I skipped that I'm going to actually go back to here in a second is this idea of a value proposition. And so for the sake of our conversation today, we're going to define a value proposition as why should I give to you versus giving to someone else versus not giving at all. And so when you start looking at the copy, as you start thinking about the decisions that you're making as you put on the page, we're trying to maximize value versus cost. And so we want to give them a reason. And so 4 key things about a value proposition is that it needs to have appeal. Do I want this? Clarity. Do I understand? Exclusivity. Can I get this somewhere else? And credibility. Do I trust you? So those are all things that you want to lean into. You can pick one, you can pick all 4. You'll hear me talk a lot about clarity. Clarity is something that I love, and clarity is the thing that I think pushes people towards the decision more effectively than almost anything else. So make an impact is an interesting way to start this because it's not bad. That's another thing to understand. Nothing about the pages that we look at are good and bad. It's just about, could we try something that might be better? So make an impact is fine, but if you think about what a value proposition can do, is it specific? Is it really starting to tell me what I can do? And that doesn't mean we'll make an impact. It's off. People have said no and they're out. It's just about optimizing the opportunity. This is the first thing they're going to see. And so that's quickly followed up with your support. Your support powers our work to improve the health, education, and financial stability of every person in Central Illinois. So good. That is great because what you're doing here is you're focusing on the donor and their journey. You're bringing them into the story. Your support powers our work to improve the health, education, etc. It's not necessarily something you have to change, but even the idea of your support powers our work. One of the opportunities that you have on a donation page is to tell the story of the people that benefit from your organization. So in this case, saying that the donation I can give to you as a donor helps the United Way of Central Illinois do something impressive. There is a step that we could skip. It's your support helps. Imagine if we had a photo here of someone. Your support helps Joanne. Joanne has been down on her luck. Joanne is someone who needs help. As you start to think about telling it through that lens, now we're creating something that feels not only more credible, but it feels exclusive. I can help Joanne. Nowhere else can I go to and help Joanne or people like Joanne in Central Illinois. When you start telling that story, you're connecting with the heart. And study after study, test after test show that when you connect emotionally, when you make the emotional appeal, that is when you're going to have the highest conversion rate. That is when you're going to actually start to move the needle. So anyway, sorry, let's continue down this form a little. This is the one form I did get to look at beforehand. So I do have a few thoughts here. I don't have any concern with what I see in the form, but what I do see is if I scroll down this page, this moment here, this give now, this is the big moment. However, a lot of the value is being tucked down here underneath the form. Or at least these are like, we have this video, we have all these other things that if this is the big moment of the page, why are these things on the page at all? Do they add value? Should they be here? Because all these could potentially be our distractions for me clicking that button. Think about it. We're optimizing the thought sequences. And so our own thought sequences might be confused if we're including all of this data on the page that doesn't need to be there. This can be anywhere else on the site. This, if it's that important that it needs to be on the page, then it should be up here at the top. So what I would suggest for this page, and then we can move on to the next one, is to take the opportunity to tell a story here. Here in this moment, we are giving them a one line and hoping that that's enough. It may be. But if you want to test something, if you want to experiment, I would find a story, maybe pull one of these people out from behind the background, bring them front and center, and tell the story of how I, as a donor, can make an impact in the life of someone that you have the ability to touch through a donation to the United Way of Central Illinois. All right. Do we have another page that I can pull up, Will? I'll take the moment to drink a sip of water. I see a bunch in the chat. I just want to take them in the right order.
Yeah, the first one said you have a speaker chat should be good.
I wish I knew how to use the system better.
In the bottom left, you should see speaker chat. Very bottom left button. Or you can just take any of them.
I'll just take any of them. How about this unbound now? By the way, if we don't have time to get to yours, we will make note of it, and I can follow up with everyone individually. It's not an issue for our time here. Now look at this. I recognize this just because, not because of the client, because I know the form. It's a raised donors form. So on this page, unbound now, right away, you probably already heard me say this, I would remove the navigation. Just, we don't need it there. It's a bunch of eject buttons. So let's get to the headline. Your generosity ignites hope. Your tax-deductible donation to Unbound Now will help prevent human trafficking, protect those who are vulnerable, and bring freedom to those who have been exploited. Okay, your generosity ignites hope is great. It's great, but it's also, I can tell, written by a marketer, or at least someone with a marketing mindset. Because it's true, your generosity ignites hope is nice, but it's not specific. How? Like, how is it igniting hope? Okay, well, let's get into your tax-deductible donation to Unbound Now will help prevent human trafficking. I think I would start more quickly into the value, the specificity of what's going on. I also wouldn't lead with tax-deductible. Tax-deductible is, if I talk about making an emotional appeal, I am now appealing to a different part of the brain when I talk about tax-deductible. That doesn't mean it doesn't belong on the donation page. I'm talking about the optimization of the mental sequences. The first thing I want to connect people with is how, if I part ways with $100, why would I do that? Now, the thing about nonprofit fundraising that I think we all understand, but maybe you need to hear articulated in this way, is that the moment, the big rush, the thing that I get in exchange for making a donation as a donor to your nonprofit happens in this moment. We are in that moment right now as I look at this donation page. If I go to Amazon and I want to buy a new t-shirt, so I go, hey, Nike t-shirts, I look at it. I complete that transaction, and a couple days later at my front door or in my mailbox is a t-shirt. That's when I'm experiencing the joy of what just happened. For nonprofits, for the donor, this is that moment. This is what we want to do. So that is why I focus so much on telling the stories. One of the things that we need to consider when we look at our donation form is that it is a way to shorten the distance between us and our donors. But for our donors, it's an incredible way to shorten the distance between them and their impact. Now, an organization like Unbound Now, they are dealing with preventing human trafficking. That is a story that needs a face. That needs to be personalized. That is an opportunity to tell a story of some kind. You don't have to be violating anyone's privacy, but I would take this opportunity to show how a gift ignites hope. Just telling them that it ignites hope is a great way to get someone to be like, okay, but remember that they can always just click that back button. They can always just go away, because what you're doing is you're competing with them giving to someone else. But really, the biggest thing is just that inertia of like, you know what, never mind. But when you connect personally, it just really connects to the heart. And now I feel like I can't leave. I need to help. whatever way I can. And the way I can help right now is by giving a donation. So we'll probably repeat that a few more times as we go through here. The form looks great. Down here, this is fine. It's all just, again, why would I have this there versus not having it there? If this stuff is important, maybe present it at a different point along the journey. What we're doing here is taking care of the process. This is fine too, because you're giving them a completely different way to give a gift. But again, we're talking too much to the wrong side of the brain up here. This is the most important part of your page. And here we want to connect personally. So, all right, let's go on to the next one. I feel like I maybe shortcutted the process. I'm going to go down to the bottom. I would love to hear your thoughts on ours. Spark wheel. All right. Okay, let's get rid of the navigation. Easy fix. And when I say fix, again, I'm implying that you're doing something wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. It's an easy opportunity to experiment. Okay, be the spark. Donating to Spark Wheel means fueling student success that isn't limited by barriers like food insecurity or lack of shoes or clothing. Your financial help illuminates their path to lifelong success. Join us in being the spark in students' lives. On the surface, that's brilliant. That's beautiful. I love seeing a face. I love seeing people. But again, I'm going to draw you to like being the spark. Donating to Spark Whale means fueling student success that isn't limited. Okay. In and of itself, no problem at all. But who's she? Does she have a story? Can I talk about her? Because again, I'm talking about clarity. I'm talking about exclusivity. I'm talking about credibility. If I start telling the story of this person, we'll call her Samantha. If Samantha has a story I can connect to, now I am creating the opportunity for the donor to feel personally motivated to make a difference in her life on people like her. Okay, we don't need to belabor that again too much, but right away, I would say that the page is beautiful. It feels nice, and that feels good. But one thing about clarity that I want to talk before we go on, one of the reasons you hear me, well, that today I'm talking so much about clarity is that clarity draws people close. Confusion draws people away. And so this page already does a good job of drawing people close. What I'm saying is we're trying to make a lift. We're trying to make a learning. And so that's why being more specific is something worth experimenting. Now, another note on experimenting, some of you might be thinking, oh, do we need to A/B test? Do we need to do this? Yeah, sure you can, but most nonprofits probably don't have traffic to really validate an experiment. So what I suggest is just try something different. You can either create 2 different pages and test them out that way by like, hey, this is the one we're going to use on our general donation page, and this is the one we're going to use on our campaign pages. There's just different ways for you to approach how you experiment. But the idea is to change one thing. Usually I encourage only changing one thing on your page at a time, so you can just see if it makes a difference. It doesn't have to be a mad science. It just has to be a culture of optimization seeping its way through into everything that you do. All right, so let's keep going down this form a little. The form looks great. Again, when you're thinking about cost versus value, up here we're establishing a lot of value. Now we're immediately starting to get into that cost portion. And so that's where I pause for things like organization employer. I know sometimes you are required to ask that. Donor comments. The idea that I'm suggesting is not to remove these things from the process, but if possible, to move them to a different part of the process. Can you ask on the thank you page? Can you send a follow-up email? Can you call someone and thank them for the gift and ask them the questions then? The idea here is that if I get too heavy on cost, then I am increasing the chance of being part of that 83% don't give the gift. So remove the navigation, maybe tell a more specific story. But Sparkle, you're already doing a good job. Those are just some ideas to try something different. Okay. Let's see. Drag this up in here. American Friends Service Committee. All right. So no navigation, already doing things well. You've got a picture there, a very powerful photo of people doing a thing that is implying action. And that is paired where with build peace with justice. So first thing that I told you at the start of here is like we are making assumptions sometimes, which is why I think that 83% people leave. And that is we have not gotten specific. Build peace with justice. Now is the time to tell me what that means. Don't assume that just because I'm on this page, I know who you are, what you're doing, and why it matters to me. This is the opportunity to tell that story. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be like, hey, this is Joe, and this is why Joe's here. I know I've been making that story, but we can talk about, if we're talking about building peace with justice, that means there's a lack of peace and a lack of justice that we are trying to address, that we are trying to get to the bottom of. And this is a way for you to, if you part with $50 right now, how am I going to help build peace with justice? So that is what I would advise right here, right beneath this heading. You could add a sentence, you could add a paragraph, you could add an encyclopedia. The idea isn't whether, hey, is a lot of copy better than a short copy or a short copy better than a long copy? I'm not here to tell you either one is better or worse, but what is better or worse is speaking with value, telling the story. If you don't say anything, you're missing the opportunity. And right here, there's an opportunity for you to get more specific about what you're doing. So as we go down over here, if we've already told the story, so let's imagine you telling the story here, then it's appropriate to be like, hey, your tax deductible gift is here. Hey, you can even get a premium offer, a gift. You can get something else. These symbols here, these seals, this is good for trust and credibility. It's increasing the value of your value proposition. But right now, without that story, there is a lot of costs. And I don't even mean costs like, hey, we're going to give them a tote bag. That's value. But what's the context? Like, why are you giving me a tote bag? What's this for? Like, that is the tension, that whether it is expressed specifically by the donor in their mind, that is the feeling that they have, and feeling is what often makes us make a gift, and it's also the thing that makes us leave a donation page. I wouldn't necessarily leave this page and be like, the American Friends Service Committee, they're not doing anything. That's not the decision they're making. It just might be like, meh, like, no, I don't want to. Because we assume that because they're on this page, they're highly motivated. They're just interested. Donors are skeptical. They come in with skepticism in the same way that you watch a commercial. You see, I make this joke all the time. I'm sorry. I see a Burger King commercial. And they go, hey, they're the king of burgers. It's settled then. Well, I don't ever have to worry about what hamburger I'll eat the rest of my life. No. We meet these messages with skepticism. Build peace with justice. Okay. Like that's what I mean. That tone, that kind of like, okay. Some people need more than that. I would say 83% of the people need more than that. So tell that story and get into it. Otherwise, I love these steps. You're telling people the process, how much they've got to go to complete this process. The page is beautiful. The photo is awesome. The trust seals are really, really valuable. These actually do help increase conversion. So if you do have access to these, make these front and center. Well, sorry, not front and center, near the donate button. I know here we have a step, but if you can only put them in one place, put these as close as possible to the button that processes the transaction. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. Hold on. I don't know if I clicked this one already or not. Yeah, I already did. So this is, oh, these are old friends. So this is CareNet. This is an interesting one because I can already tell there's a lot of copy here. And so right away, people are going to say, well, should I use a lot of copy or should I use little copy? Again, that's not the question. The question is, are these words the right words? Because someone who cares about this cause, someone who thinks about this in the same way that CareNet thinks about this, wants to hear that I can trust you, that you see things the way I see things. Because if I'm going to part ways with money, then I want that to be seen and used in the way that I intend for it to be used. Another thing to keep in mind, this is more just high level. Here they're using bullet points. That helps a lot. Because even though people are encouraged to read, we are still human beings and we like to scan things sometimes. And bullet points draw our eye. It narrows our focus. It helps us think. The only thing I want to show you here, and I'll start speeding this up, I know I'm dragging, is this is an interesting approach. 30, 60, 120, 240. Each of them is attached with some kind of value. This is an interesting experiment to see if it can increase your average gift size. Because perhaps I came with the intention of giving $30, but as I see what you can do with my money, it could potentially motivate a higher gift. Again, an experiment that you can run if your system allows it. But let's go ahead and move on to another page. I promise I'm going to speed up here. Okay. Oh, a couple things I want to talk about here. So this is Camp Young Judea. So this is an interesting form for a couple reasons. One, you're giving here, you've got an image, you've got give the gift of camp today. That's good. That's nice. I like that. Give the gift of camp today. Growth, connection, fun. These are the center of everything we do. All our campers are having the best. They're also building lifelong friendships, challenging themselves, and thriving in their independence, etc. I think you've got something really great here. Again, you can always mix in a story. But an interesting thing about this page, so this is a modal pop-up, which means you can hit it anywhere on your site. And so this pulls my mind to the idea that while not every page on your website is a donation page, every page on your website is giving them a reason to donate or not to donate. There's nothing weird about nonprofits asking people for money. That's how the things get done. But when you land on a page like this, there is a temptation I've seen before with these kind of modal style pages to just have the form. And that's not bad in and of itself, but it comes back to the culture of optimization. What kind of mindset are you permeating through your organization, and how is that impacted on the website copy, the way you're talking? So I really like this page. I think this is strong. The image is really strong. The only thing I would say is whenever you can get more specific, there is an experiment for you to run. Who are these kids, or who's she? Maybe we can just tell a story. This gives me good pause here to say, I alluded to this earlier, but there are different types of donation pages. So a general donation page is what I click when I go to your website. So this looks like a general donation page. I go to your website, I see a donate button, I click it. The reason that there is a distinction in this moment is because when I, as a donor, click that donation page, the nonprofit knows nothing about me. So it's got to be the most widely appealing page on your donation pages. So, for example, some organizations have a drop down that says, what would you like to direct your gift towards? The general fund, the building fund, the camp fund. There's a million things. You are probably okay presenting that on your general donation form, even though there is a lot of cost associated with that decision. But the idea is, I don't know who you are. The other type of donation page is, at least a common, is a campaign donation page. So maybe you segmented your email list. Hey, we know people who really are into Camp Judea. Maybe they're parents of kids that are currently attending. So you have a different targeting that changes the message that you might focus in on this page. Maybe on a campaign donation page, you might be more specific. So on this general donation page, maybe you do just kind of like, hey, we're giving the gift of fun. But if you're talking to the parents of kids who have gone, or maybe know of families that would love to go to the camp but can't afford it, you can tell a different story. The more you get specific on those campaign pages, those are great opportunities to really dig deep into the heart, because that is when you make giving is personal. And so the opportunities to make things personal, the there is nothing better you can do for your fundraising than finding ways to make it personal and meaningful. Because the thing that people hate about fundraising, that people they get queasy about it, or especially if you have to be the one to ask someone to give money, is because you're approaching it from an impersonal standpoint. It's like going to the used car lot and somebody comes up to you and the guy's like, hey buddy, hey Will, glad to see you. It's like, I don't know you, what's going on? Like, that feels icky because it's impersonal. And I think a lot of people put that stain on fundraising because you're asking for money. But that's not the thing that we're doing. We're inviting people to change. We're inviting people to participate in something that will make other people's lives better, and in so doing, make your own life better. That is the invitation of fundraising. And so when you look at it from that approach, and you look at your donation page from that approach, and you think about optimizing thought sequences, that's the story you want to tell. Choose whatever words you want to, but that's the journey that you're on. And so the way that you fundraise this month might be different than the way you fundraise next month. But those are the thought sequences. Always keep those in mind, because when you think about it through that lens, it never ends. It's always more personal. And not only is it better for your donors, it's not only better for your organization, but you as a fundraiser, it's more satisfying to think of it that way, because now you're on a journey to make the world a better place. Okay, getting off my high horse there. Let's see. Now I'm pulling up Appalachia Service Project. Okay. Who knows what I'm going to say first? Get rid of the navigation. Just do it. Just do it. If you must have the navigation of some kind on your donation form, the best way that I've seen is to have a button up in the right that says menu that tucks it all away. So if I want to hit that eject button, there's work I need to do. In this case, you're inviting me to leave. There's all kinds of ways for me to go. All right. So give to ASP's mission. Make homes warmer, safer, drier. Partner with ASP to eradicate substandard housing in Appalachia by making a financial gift. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing Appalachia. I'm from Texas. We don't have mountains. I don't know if we work this way in the chat, but what is the general reaction here in the audience? I think that one of the things that's going on here is that I am overwhelming the donor. I am asking them to give, but then I am presenting them with a lack of clarity. I think if when I hit give, let me make sure that's what's happening here. Yeah. When I hit give, the next step should be much clearer than this. And I know that there are a million things that you're dealing with and why this page is even this way, but it's not clear to me what the next step is. And also, make homes warmer, safer, drier is a great way to start, but let's get into it. Let's get into what's going on. I've got this worker right here and I've got this child right here. These are two different stories. Let's pick one. Let's get into it. Let's make it happen. So when I hit this give button, I get the form, I go through it. But to even know that give to make that my next step is there is a lot of friction happening on this page. That doesn't mean that what Appalachia Service Project is doing isn't valuable. But what it is doing is that it's making me think really hard because this page is a lot of cost. And that when I say that, I'm not even talking about the words. I'm talking about the way it feels. This feels hard. And so we want to make it feel easier. And so that starts with experimenting. That starts with trying. This doesn't mean, hey, delete this page and start over. No, let's just change one thing. What if instead when I got here, we told a story and this was already exposed. That button was already revealed. I don't have to click that button. I just get into it. Maybe every single one of these pages has its own page and we're driving people there via a campaign or a different landing page. But if I hit the give button on your website, I am very likely to become one of the 83% unless I am highly motivated because there is a lot of cost on this page. That said, let's talk about just one more quick tip about ASP funds, more ways to give. Let's just remove that. Here, I'm going to try and leave you with one tip on this page. Get rid of these buttons. We have all this stuff over here. Tell the story and lead them towards that give button. Don't even worry about removing these. I get why they're here. I get it. I've been there. I've done this. But right here, we don't need more buttons. We need story. We need connection. We need to appeal to why I want to click that button. That's the easiest change that you can experiment with today on this side. So keep it up. You've got a lot of opportunity to make the world a better place on this page. You just have to work on making it clearer. Okay. Let's see. Lighthouse mission. Okay, this is the page we need to look at. So that previous page was probably maybe something that was kind of like the equivalent of what the Appalachia site might want to do to keep that not be the destination for when they hit the donate button. So here on this donation form, let's get rid of all the navigation. Again, don't need it there. They're just inviting you to leave. Donate to Lighthouse mission. We have an area for an image, and we have like a background of clouds. And then the words donate to Lighthouse mission. Nothing wrong with donate to Lighthouse mission, but it is a missed opportunity. It is a missed opportunity. And let's just think of it in simplest terms. I'm not even talking now, let's put a paragraph there. Donate to Lighthouse mission could be replaced with something like your gift makes a difference in the lives of, I don't know what Lighthouse mission does, I'm sorry. But right away, if we can turn it into donor focus, a donor centric way of talking to them about either the beneficiaries of their gift or them themselves as their role in the story, Well, the idea is we want to make our copy less organization focused and more focused on the impact. We're shortening the distance between the donor and the gift that they're making. And so, again, I don't look at donate to Lighthouse Mission and go, fools, how could you think to even do that on your donation page? That's not it. It's just, oh, there's an opportunity. There's something you can experiment with right now, today. Change that copy, see if it makes any difference. But it is the way, it's the first thing that you're telling to the donors when they land on this page. I think there's an opportunity there. So thank you for your support. You can never thank people too much. Please provide your contact and payment information. Your contact information is required to generate an electronic tax receipt, which will be sent to the email address that you provide. Homeroom will be today after 7th period. You get what I'm saying? Like, we are talking to them in a clinical way. We've talked earlier about what is going on in the mind of the donor. They're looking for a reason to give. In fact, if you think about it, they're looking for a reason to leave. You need to give them a reason to stay. And so that is where we don't want to appeal directly to sort of that left side of the brain that's just like, okay, I get it. It's tax deductible. I'm going to get the receipt. This is why you're asking me all these questions. We haven't given them enough reason to donate to Lighthouse Mission. So that's what I would say. Let's work on building clarity around why I would do that very thing. All right. Sorry if I'm accidentally skipping any of these. I'm just doing my best here. Let's see. Calgary Meals on Wheels. Let's make sure we're going to the right place. Okay. So the reason I keep clicking on these buttons versus the pages you sent me is because this is the journey your donors are going on. So I have all of this over here. You know, I'm telling them whatever, but when I go in here and I click donate now, or in this way, give now, the journey's not over. We have not yet won, if you want to use that vernacular. We've not yet got the donation. And so this is why it's not enough to just say we're Calgary Meals on Wheels. This is where the magic is happening. Our mission is to eliminate food insecurity in Calgary. Thank you for helping us nourish our vulnerable neighbors. That's great. I can always come up with notes, but my joke, no notes. That's really good. Might make it bigger. It gets a little lost. But this is a good example of we're making the right point in the right way. Now, you could add an image, you could tell a story. All of this is experimenting. But in terms of our mission is to eliminate food insecurity in Calgary, that's fine. It is organization focused. You could talk about how your gift helps your organization achieve your mission, which is to eliminate food insecurity in Calgary. You could talk about food insecurity in Calgary and how donations make a difference in the lives of how many people per week, per month. There are opportunities to get specific. What I'm saying here is that you have put something on this page that is there intended to remind them of why they clicked that button, and now it's time to complete the process. But I'm always encouraging people, take every moment you can to be more specific, to appeal to people's emotions, to make them understand that you can make a difference. This could be you. This could be someone you know. There are all types of people that are impacted by food insecurity. So what are you going to do to help make that? We have an opportunity here through the Calgary Meals on Wheels. You start telling that story, people want to be a part of it. Let me see if there's anything else before we move on. One tip that this page is doing, it's proven time and time again, when you get to the point of entering your credit card information, the simplest of things, the little lock icon, reminding them that it's secure, this is proven to increase conversion. Because this is the point. If you're talking about value cost, this is the moment. This is the highest moment of cost. I am opening my wallet or opening my digital wallet, whatever it is I'm doing, and I'm making the big step. So this is proven. This is great. Another thing, this page doesn't have it, but before we run out of time, something that's really prudent is if you can accept gifts via ACH, so via check. Organizations can save so much money if they set that as the default payment method. People can always click away from that. I've seen some former customers of ours, or back when I was running Raise Donors, do campaigns just where they would call monthly donors just to check in on them and ask if they'd be willing to change their gift from credit card to check. It's just a small way to make incremental growth in your organization. So let me see. Sorry. So this is great. I hope what I said was helpful. Let's see. Okay. Sorry. Again, I feel like I'm skipping some. My chat resets every time I go to it. Okay. So this is the last one. Foster forward. Okay. This is a good one to end on. So we want to remove the navigation. Okay. You don't need to hear me say why again. Make a donation. This goes back to like the lighthouse one. Make a donation. I get it. It's clear. So we do have clarity, but it is missing an opportunity for appeal. Do I want this? Can I do this somewhere else? Do I trust you? So I would think about what we say there. This is very, very valuable real estate in the optimization of a thought sequence. So as we go down here, we have thank you for your support. You are empowering lives impacted by foster care with your gift. Thank you for enabling youth to access. Brilliant. This is great. You're focusing on the impact of the gift. You're giving me a reason why I should give my part ways with my money. Because what am I getting in exchange? Right here. I am enabling youth to access adult education, secure meaningful employment. This is why, if you think about it that way, then it makes sense to be like, well, wouldn't it be great to tell her story? Wouldn't it be great to get more specific? Because when you open up the box of impact, people want to dive more. They want to keep opening it. They want to learn more. So you don't have to do that all here on your donation form. It's just that your donation form is the gateway. It's how they get through the door with your organization. But the journey isn't over there, because you can follow up and continue to tell her story, to continue to tell that. The last thing on this page, I love pairing text with gift amounts. If you can make these boxes versus radio buttons, that's also been proven to increase conversion. I'd love to say more, but unfortunately, we are out of time. It's always a pleasure to do this. It's always a pleasure to be a part of the Responsive Nonprofit Summit. And it's always a pleasure for you to see the courage in this room, the vulnerability that so many of you had sharing your donation pages. So remember that you're perfectly designed to be getting the results that you're getting today. If you want to get different results, you're going to have to try something different. So thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.